Hey, everybody, welcome back to the third episode of Beyond the Questions. This is Gabby and Debbie again with you. Today, we're going to be talking about our specialties and some red flags you should look for when you're trying to find an English coach. So, I'm going to let Debbie start because she has way more experience than me and a lot more different specialties. So, Debbie, what are some of your specialties that you have now after 3 decades in the business?
Hi, Gaby. Hi, everyone. It's good to be here again. Oh, where to begin? We teachers tend to start off when we begin doing lower level, dipping our toes into the water, and slowly we are given more responsibility. Now, at this point, basically, I can teach the GRE, IELTS, all parts of it, especially writing, because I find writing is challenging as well as I would say listening to most people. The Cambridge exams, the CP, the CAE, the XE, TOEFL. Generally, the OET is another one that I really enjoyed teaching. So yeah, all fun, all good.
People know about this test and like, yeah, I can study for it on my own, or maybe I can get a cheaper person on italki or even Fiverr. So why is it better to have an advanced coach for those?
That's an excellent question. And especially today when we're seeing like this, well, we have been seeing over the past few years, this massive explosion of, in inverted commas, English teachers popping out. They may be good at teaching someone. And when I say the basics, I'm talking the basics, but someone who has been teaching for, as you said, like over, it doesn't have to be 30 years. It could be like 15 years or, even 10 years, let's say, would be much better at helping people reach the target that they have because they wouldn't be their first student. Whereas someone who doesn't have the experience isn't able to be flexible enough to help them. Like if you're driving on mountain roads, there are a lot of turns. And I don't think that someone who has been teaching for 6 months knows how to take those turns in a way that doesn't drive them and their passenger off a cliff. If you're willing to pay that amount of money to take an exam, you need a teacher that is going to help you pass that exam and get to your next step as skillfully as possible, because you don't want to keep paying to sit an exam just because you made the mistake of choosing someone who is not capable of helping you. No one has the skills in the beginning. You don't have the skills. You don't have the flexibility. You don't know the nuances of each exam or the little tips and secrets and things like that will help someone. You just don't. That's how it is in every job, not just in teaching. And let's be honest, many people who call themselves teachers today are not professionals. They just woke up one morning and said, how do I, like make something a little bit on the extra on the side? Oh yeah, okay, I'll become a teacher. Some of the examples are shocking.
Yeah. So I guess the last thing I would ask you before we get to my specialties is what is something that someone can check before they sign up with an English teacher? Because you can take a certificate that is very quick, very cheap. So that's not always the only thing you should ask about.
The minute that you sit with someone, whether it's, face to face or online, you will soon realize whether that is the person who is capable of helping you and giving you advice. The game plan should be something that is discussed during the first lesson. How is that teacher going to help you? If that teacher doesn't tell you after the first 5 or 10 minutes of, like examining you, let's say, that we need to do this, we need to do this. When do you want to take that exam? How long do we have? How many lessons? Do you need a week? What are we going to do during those lessons? Because that's important as well. I dislike to the extreme doing a lesson and having students do audio in the lesson, unless it's something really, really specific that I want to teach them. A test, for example, right? An IELTS test. I will not sit in a lesson for 40 minutes filing my nails while a student is doing a listening test. They can do a listening test at home. We can correct it together, but they can do it by themselves. They don't need to do it in a lesson. For me, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah, I agree. It's just I feel like students should focus more on output when they're with their teacher. Then you can check things. So I agree with you on that too.
What about you, Gaby?
Well, for me, being the nerd that I am, I focus more on language, culture, and business. So I have two sides of what I'm doing right now. What I do in my business is called Tigrinya. So I help people with learning Tigrinya, which is my husband's language. And that's mostly at the conversational level with some cultural aspects, a little bit of history at this point. And the English side is business English with a bit of corporate culture, because I don't know if you're seeing this also, Debbie. There's a lot of people who are nearshoring work where they're not necessarily moving to the country, but they work for an English dominant firm. And sometimes they speak English very well, but their understanding of the culture can lead to misunderstandings. One thing that came up that I wasn't expecting that. There was a professional who was born and raised in America, and they said, I'm okay, but can you help my parents? I'm like, okay. I'll be talking to him later this week about that. But that was interesting because also when you have your parents in the country with you, it can be a bit stressful if they're not independent. If every time they get a letter, they're like, what does this say? What should I do? It's helpful if they can do at least some of the basic things for themselves.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, because we are moving around. People are experiencing different languages and different cultures more than ever. You would be an excellent help to them, I would say, Gaby, in that area. Like my mom was like that. She needed someone to help her. But I also think that it's also based on whether they want to learn, because my mom didn't.
Yeah, and it's also a bit of a different niche because we hear all the time about people teaching professionals, teenagers, kids, but a lot of people don't want to teach older folks. Some teachers find them difficult, in air quotes, difficult, because for older people, you might have to repeat concepts a few more times. They need it explained a different way. If you really want to, you can work around it. I had a Turkish guy when I was teaching at an institute. This also made me upset because he was in a group with another guy that was not his level, like 2 levels above him. The teacher was trying to teach both of them from zero, and the other guy was getting bored. And the Turkish guy was just, his homework every class was just to write verb conjugation tables. So he didn't know how to say anything. So in a situation like that, it helps to understand a bit about the student's culture, maybe a little bit about their language, like, good job. Can you do this? Or basic numbers. So with him, I found a YouTube channel that he could work with for homework where the guy was speaking Turkish, explaining things in German, which was the language he was learning. And we also just got him through the basics in class, like, hi, my name is, I live here, I work this place, I am this many years old. Just things he would have to explain if he went to an office and they asked him to introduce himself. He worked at a restaurant, so he didn't really need to talk to many people at the restaurant in German. But he was going to offices and they were asking him basic questions and he had no idea because the teacher didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah, which is weird, right? The teacher should be able to sort of gauge what the students actually need to learn and create a syllabus around what they actually need to learn to get around easily and not be stressed. It's stressful enough being in a foreign country and not knowing the language. I mean, I think he went there to be helped.
They should, but I think the last red flag that I would bring up for today is a teacher who is too dependent on a book. So books are there as resources for us to help us make a curriculum or a plan that's going to work for you. But if you just say, open up to page 10, do page 10, okay, let me know when you're done. You could have done that at home on your own for free. Yeah. The teacher is there to be like the facilitator, the middle person between you and whatever resources they have.
Yeah, I agree with you. They shouldn't be doing them in the classroom, first of all.
Yeah, we could talk about this forever. So
yeah, till the cows come home.
Those are some of our like, why? Yeah, that's all for us today. So this is Gaby and
Debbie.
And we'll see you in the next one. Next time I'll be by myself because Debbie will be on the much needed vacation. So Hopefully you don't miss her too much, you guys.